Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is how to scale your business. To scale your real estate investment business effectively, consider the following 10 strategies. Number 1, in honor of my friend Bud, aim high and plan smart. Set ambitious goals and break them down into actionable steps. Number 2, automate, don't procrastinate. Embrace technology to streamline processes and save time. Number 3, network like a boss. Build relationships with key industry players for partnerships and opportunities. Number 4, learn, grow, then repeat. Stay updated on trends, regulations, and strategies through continuous education. Number 5, tech up your game. Leverage those cutting-edge tools for data analysis, marketing, and property management. Number 6, diversify and conquer. Explore different property types to spread risk and ensure stability. Number 7, delegate to liberate. Delegate tasks and outsource functions so you can focus on strategic decisions. Number 8, financing fuels growth. Establish strong relationships with lenders and secure adequate capital. Number 9, metrics for success. Monitor performance metrics to track investments so you can make informed decisions. And finally, number 10, stay agile and adapt. Be flexible, keep an eye on the market trends, and adjust strategies accordingly. So remember, scaling your real estate investment business is a journey, so maintain that positive attitude and keep pushing forward with determination. And don't be afraid to unleash your badassery. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us return guest Mike Otranto. After graduating college, Mike worked in corporate America and quickly learned it was not a good fit. He moved to Raleigh in 2005 and jumped into real estate investing and general brokerage. By 2008, Mike built up a rental portfolio and had a couple of flips under his belt, but within 2 years, all the rentals were losing money, so he returned to work. He used this opportunity to acquire some needed skills in the area of business-to-business selling and digital marketing, all while slowly rebuilding his real estate business. Fast forward a few years, and Mike was able to leave his job in 2018 and now runs Wake County Home Buyers that buys over 25 houses per year directly from homeowners. I am proud to call him friend, so welcome back, Mike Otranto.
What's up, Jen? Thanks for having me.
Yes! I have been waiting all day for this. So glad to have you back on the show. And I got to give you a shout out because the last time you were on, it was one of my highest listened to podcasts.
Oh, great. Great.
Are you a celebrity or something? I mean,
I don't know.
You're my friend, but I'm like, holy shit, he's got so many listens.
Without my knowledge, maybe I'm secretly famous.
I believe it. I totally think you're secretly famous. So we have you on the show today. Last time you talked about a project. Today, yes, we are going to be talking about something extremely exciting that you've been working your ass off lately. And yes, you started a coaching program, which is not an easy feat. So we are going to get into that, but I want you to back up a little bit. First of all, where are you from? I know you moved to Raleigh in 2005. I moved to Raleigh in 2006. So where were you from? Where did you live before that?
New York City.
We did talk about this. Got it. And you bartended.
I was a bartender. Yes.
It's all come back to me now. So what drew you to real estate? How'd you get involved in real estate?
I knew I didn't like corporate America or working for other people almost right away. It just was never a good fit. I got my first job at Sears when Sears was still around in the mid 90s, and I got fired within like a couple of months. And I've been fired from lots of jobs, but I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And even though I didn't consider myself interested in business, because the way business was explained to me, it was kind of sitting in the back office and doing inventory and accounting and all this other stuff. And, Kiyosaki had kind of a different take on it. And also the goal was to not work in a cubicle for the rest of your life, to be free and to have money work for you. So that's really what started the journey. And that was probably around 2001.
So you are starting this coaching program. And like I said, it's no easy feat. There's so much that goes into it. And there's a million gurus out there. First of all, do you consider yourself a guru?
I don't. I'm anti-guru.
I agree. I knew you were going to say that too. So why anti-guru?
I think the problem with gurus is they are basically, if I was going to define the word guru in the American English context, it's basically a self-described expert who has no credentials or any degrees or certifications. So it's just a self-described guru. And more often than not, they are rehashing existing content from someone else and putting a slight spin on it and upselling it. But when I thought about that, the other side to the coin, since I did go to college, is you have these business professors who are very intelligent and very educated, and they have the certifications, but they can't get anything done. So you don't want to go to them to learn how to run a business because they don't know, so they can't teach you. And then if you go to the gurus, they might be someone that tried to start a business, failed, learned all the enough terminology to come off as intelligent, and then just kind of develop some kind of a coaching program and something like that, put their own spin on it, and that's how they make money. They charge it. So there are some gurus out there, or some full-time real estate investors that put together coaching content that I really like. But like a good investment, it's probably less than 1% of what's actually out there. It's a very small percentage.
Right. So, and I like that you say that the guru is, the teacher, but they don't really do stuff. It's kind of like teach when you can't, talking about musicians, that they become a music teacher. I was a former music teacher, and I always took offense because I was still a musician, but you kick ass in this industry. And I've known you for several years, and you had a recent flip how much money did this flip make?
I got $272,000 back at closing.
So we got to take a minute to talk about this, because you're out there kicking ass and you're doing what you teach, which is so important. I have known people who coach but don't do anymore. And I was like, how can you even be, it drives me nuts. So let's talk about this deal. How did you find that deal?
They found me.
Ooh.
So I am an advocate of having a website which sells for me 24/7. Now, one of the challenges with a website is it's not enough just to have a website. You have to have ways to get people to go to your website. So I utilize the Google platform a lot. So there's search engine optimization, which is considered SEO, and that's how, people come up organically. And then there's some paid ads where you can sponsor some ads at the top and get people to click there. And then there's the maps, where you have your reviews. It's where it's located. A lot of people look for restaurants and local services. A lot of local businesses go there. I'm on all three. This lead came to me via Google search. I went to the website and they filled out a form. What I found is because I review my marketing regularly and I always evaluate channels. So when I pull all my numbers together and I say, how much did I spend? Where did my deals come from? How did I get my leads? How many leads did I get? I say, all right, which are my strongest channels and which are my weakest channels? And SEO always comes up on top because the higher margin deals come from there. And my experience has been that the people that are searching organically they're very intent. So that they have a specific intention behind the search. They want to find someone that they can trust, not just anybody, not like the guru, so to speak. They want someone that they can trust, that can kind of hold their hand through the process so they don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's my ideal customer.
Well, something that I quickly learned about you is your SEO, I mean, and I live in Wake County, the name of your company is Wake County Home Buyers.
Yes.
Wake County Home Buyers. And you're always at the top of every list. If I'm Googling something, if I want to see what my competition is, you are right there in first or second position. So how did you achieve that?
Well, at first I did the SEO myself. But what I had to learn is since SEO is such a specific skill set, and not only is it a specific skill set, but we are in a specific niche of real estate. So what I've learned is society, our educational system and our informational system is very niche oriented. So we're in, a very specific sub niche of real estate. We're home buyers. So I'm not sophisticated enough with SEO to manage my own campaigns. And since I've hired and fired many of them, the best way to get it done is to get someone that only focuses on real estate investor niches, which are very difficult to find. And I think the reason for that is because real estate is probably about 10 years behind the curve on technology and in marketing. They're very traditionally oriented with networking and relationship oriented. And this is fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it's very rare that you'll find someone that's willing to do marketing just for real estate investors because they're not spending money. It's the e-commerce people that are spending money on marketing.
Interesting. So I have dumped a lot of money into SEO to ramp it up to get like a page or two behind you. And it was just so hard to do. And like I said, I paid a shit ton of money for this and I never got one lead from it. So I kind of changed, and that's what you have to do a lot of times in real estate is kind of shift. So how did you just start years before me? How did you get that spot?
The spots are dynamic. They're not static. So what Google is if I can explain it, if I can oversimplify it, most of us that are our age know what the yellow pages are. And, it's like a big yellow book, but it's basically what is an index. Google is similar to that in that it is an index, but it updates regularly. And the positions will depend on the search term, the history of the searcher and their location. So the positions that you will rank on will fluctuate a little bit. Now I think I bought the Wake County Homebuyers domain in 2010. And I started to build my own websites, and that was a mess because I constantly had to build something new, tear it down. And then eventually I found Investor Care to buy around 2016, and they kind of had the out of the box for real estate investors only. And I was doing my own SEO at the time, but around 2017 is when I hired a company that specializes in e-commerce to start doing my SEO for me. And then within, I say about 6 months, I started getting leads.
Really?
Yeah.
And you said Carrot, like carrot.com?
Yeah, Investor Carrot.
It's called Investor Carrot. Okay, I always thought, and I used them for a while. They were fantastic. I got several leads and several, what I paid for it, which is really affordable. I still ended up, making my money back.
Yeah.
Many, many times over. So interesting. All right. So I know a lot of people out there listening, and I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent with this because I'm just so impressed with how you rank so well on Google. Because you think about that woman at 3:00 in the morning who is struggling with her bills, and she needs to sell her house fast. And she can immediately go on the internet, Google how to sell my house fast in Wake County, and yours is going to be the first one to pop up, and then that's going to be on your inbox in the morning. So it is that immediate, just solving that issue, which I love about it. But for newer people listening, it is so hard to get to that level at this point. Because like you said, real estate folks, we are behind the times in this. And so do you recommend new folks to pay for the SEO to ramp it up? Or what do you recommend for them to help with their Google searches?
Well, what I do is when I think back about when I started, what if I were to hop into a time machine and, go back and tap myself on the shoulder, would I say abandon everything and only do SEO? Not really. I try and provide a framework to figure out what marketing channel will be best for you, and it will depend on your goals. Now, think of SEO like a railroad. Like, let's just say you want to own property in Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, picture it like you're going to build a railroad. You're starting to lay tracks. If you change your mind in the middle of it, now you're going to have halfway to Raleigh, and those tracks are going to be useless. So you really need to say to yourself, how long am I in this game for? Am I in it for the long game, or am I just trying this out for 6 months to a year? And if it doesn't work, I'll bail. If that's the case, paid ads probably would definitely be better.
Okay.
So you do have to figure out what your long-term strategy is up front. Now, transporting things via railroad can be cheaper than, let's say, like a plane. Planes are more expensive, fuel's more expensive. So SEO will provide a better return in the long run, but in the beginning it will lose money. So that's kind of the trade-off.
Got it. Very well said. I like how you explain that. All right. So let's get back into this deal. So You woke up in the morning, in your inbox, someone said, I have this property I want to sell. Is that how that worked, or?
Yeah. So I get a lead. It'll have name, address, phone number. It'll have a series of questions, about the condition of the house, the size, bedrooms, bathrooms, and all that. Do they want to sell fast? Yes. So call them up. I'll usually ask them. I have a specific discovery process that I use, and it's based on the BANT, BANT framework, which stands for budget, authority, need, and timing. So I bring them through the BANT. Then I'll qualify the lead. The questions around what the house needs, I usually will always ask about the roof, the HVAC, and the crawl space, and the siding. So the big items. I don't ask too many questions about the interior, but this needed all of the above. So it qualified via BANT. She wanted to sell. She was willing to sell at a discount. So when I walked the house, she had already gotten a contractor's estimate at $100,000 to renovate. So when I looked over the estimate, I said, well, yeah, because it's 2,500 square feet. I mean, that's about what you're going to spend, especially when you deal with two HVACs, because the compressors were outside. And then the siding had to go because it was rotten. It was deteriorating, actually coming out, and the deck needed to be replaced because it was falling down. So the interesting thing about this house was the comparables, given that it was in a very sought after area of North Raleigh, which is kind of like the Beverly Hills of Raleigh. Which is a fun thing to say, because now people are like, oh, it's in Midtown. I'm like, Midtown, this is Raleigh. We mean Midtown, but it's like a thing now, Midtown Raleigh. So, my realtor said that's a very hot area. Comps are anywhere from the 400s to the 500s. There's very strong demand for it. But when I crunched all the numbers and I knew there was going to be 100 in, I thought, based on my calculation, I have my own calculation. I don't use 70% or 75%. It's too general. I have an itemized sheet that I built in Excel. It can also be built in Google Docs. I go through that in detail in my course. I show you all the line items, what they are, how to build the formulas, and how to back everything out. So when I crunched my numbers, I figured, all right, if I'm going to spend $100,000 and I'm going to sell it at about, it was $500,000. I only make $50,000 or $60,000, which it's not ideal, but it could still work. So I said, all right, but I can't pay more than $275,000 for this house. So I made her that offer at $275,000, and she wanted like $3 and some change. And what I told her was, you can leave behind whatever you want. I know you have a lot of stuff there. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is cherry pick what you want, leave. I'll take care of everything. If you need to bump the closing date up, you want to move faster, it's fine. You want to wait a week, 2 weeks, it's fine. It's no problem. I'm here. Any problems, you come to me. So I provide a service. I make you sleep easy at night. So when I'm involved, it gets easier. Don't worry, you can go forward. So she wound up accepting it after a couple of days. So it turns out that I had to do the roof, the gutters, the siding, 2 HVACs, the furnace, which was powered by electricity, I think, was in the garage, and it came to my attention that wasn't to code. So we had to move that into the crawl space. We had to rebuild the deck, redo the bathrooms. I spent $135,000. That was expensive, and that was... Now, the other thing that I do a little differently is I don't like institutional hard money lenders. I like to borrow money from local real estate investors who are retired, who only loan money to people that they know.
Interesting.
And in exchange for this, I'll pay them a flat 12%, no points. I will fund the rehab. So that's $130,000 of my money that's going into that project. But there's no personal guarantee behind the note.
Okay.
And it's usually a 1-year call. I will not do a balloon. And that's because I learned my lessons in the late 2000s about debt and why it's important to read the document and know what it is.
Okay. What's a
sooner
1
or
year?
later something, yeah, because sooner or later you get one you can't sell. It does happen.
What's a 1 year call? What does that mean?
A 1-year call means that after 1 year, 365 days, the lender has the option to call the loan due, but he does not have to if he doesn't want to. So that's on him. A balloon means that at the end of 365 days or 6 months, wherever it is, you owe the total principal amount and the interest on day one, or you're automatically in default, regardless of who says what. That's why I don't like those. Because even if you're a day late, you're still late.
Okay. Got it. All right. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
All right. So you go in. How long did this project take you?
It was about, bought it in December. We brought it to market in April. It was about 120 days.
Wow. Good for you.
It wasn't that bad. Now, I had a general contractor that did everything because I'm not a great project manager. I have a very short attention span. Even you had to email me saying, hey, I'm on the call. And I'm like, you saw on my screen, I got spreadsheets up. I'm like, oh, let me make an offer on this house. And I'm writing an email. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be on a conference call right now. And the assistant comes in. I'm like a tornado. I just come in and I make a mess. But yeah, I had a general contractor that managed the project. He pulled all the permitting, especially with the roof, the siding, gutters, deck. Had to do the water, everything. We just had to do everything. But we decided to list it at $550,000, which, we thought that was a good starting point. We really didn't have concrete data or a renovated comp that said, yes, you will get $550,000 for this house. Within a week, I had multiple offers, one for $651,000 with $60,000 due diligence money.
Holy shit.
So we're like, okay, that's the highest and best. There you go. You get it. The funny thing was there were people that offered $600,000 with $30,000 due diligence money, and they didn't get it. So that's someone on there that has like lots of money, but still can't buy a house.
What year was this?
2022, the first half. It was before June.
Yep.
So, we went through due diligence. There were just a few items that needed to be taken care of, like I remember there was a dryer duct that had to be rerouted, just something like a few nuisance items. It wasn't very expensive at all, maybe a few $100s. But that's why my HUD statement says $272,000, because I had to get my $132,000 back, or $135 or whatever it was. But that's a good flip.
Wow.
130 in, 150-ish out. That's a good deal.
Good for you. That is awesome. We sold one right about that same time as well, and that was our largest profit to date, and it was just shy of you, by the way. 267,000. You were at 272. So, you beat me, Mike.
What's the I think it's just the bidding. It was that, that was the post-COVID phenomenon of throw stupid money at houses, throw crazy money at houses.
It was that's stupid. Yeah. Yes.
And it's not like that section of North Raleigh is not going to crash. It's always going to be valuable. Mm-hmm. The longer they stay, the better it'll get. So I don't think it'll be a problem.
Yeah, ours was in Durham, by the way, and they went 90 over asking. So we're like, okay. Yes, wonderful, wonderful time to do it. But let's get back to this coaching program. So you are not considered the guru because you are actually out there busting your ass doing these things. Mr. Tornado self-proclaimed himself. And what makes you stand out from these other coaching programs? Because they're a dime a dozen. There's so many people out there starting them. What makes yours different?
A few things. One, I disagree with a lot of the conventional wisdom that's out there. I know that a lot of people are intimidated by math and numbers. However, we measure all of our expenses. Everything is measured in dollars, which is numbers. So you have to have a certain dexterity with quantitative analysis. A little bit. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can use Excel, but the 70% of ARV, the only thing is if you get too used to that and you start, 70%, the thing is, you do have to crunch some numbers and have some attention to detail when you're coming up with your after repaired value as well, and you have to be have the same, demonstrate the same, attention to detail for the repair estimate. Because if you're just saying, hey, 70%, that's an easy number to work with, and then you do the same thing with the ARV and the same thing with the repair estimate, you're going to be way off.
So back up a little bit. What does the 70% mean?
70% is just a rule of thumb that if you buy a house at 70% of what it's worth after it's repaired, and then you deduct your repairs from that number, it will work as a good flip. And you'll make a good amount of money. So
you're taking 70% of the after repair value.
Yeah.
And so you're basically taking 30% off of that. You're multiplying it times 0.70, subtracting repairs. And what does that cover in that 30% that you're taking off of there?
That 30%, I mean, that 30% is supposed to cover your buying cost, your holding costs, your cost of sale, and your profit.
Right.
If that $500,000 house, if I said, okay, 500,000 times 70% is 350,000 minus the $100,000, I would have come up with $250,000. That would not have gotten the deal done.
Right.
Now, the $275,000 is an extra $25,000. Now, I understand why that 30% is there. Usually, when I built my sheet, I put the 70% of ARV in the upper right-hand corner, another column, just so you can compare the two numbers. Generally speaking, the reason why that 30% is there is that the numbers will balance out to your profit should be equal. Your net profit will be equal roughly to the amount of money that you put in repairs. So $100,000 in, you'll get $100,000 out. And I understand that. And that's good. Mm-hmm. I like to think of it as $2 back for every dollar in repairs spent. But there are other variables that need to be considered. So this flip, since it was in a hot area and it was a hot market, it justified the risk. Now, there are other flips that I've done where I've only had to put in $12,000 in repairs, and I got $20,000 back. 70% would have been too low and would have not have gotten the deal done.
Got it. All right. Thank you for explaining that, because I'm sure some people that just went right over their head. So your program, though, is really heavy in marketing and acquisitions.
Yeah.
And why is that so important? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but for you, why is your focus on marketing and acquisitions?
It's where I struggle the most. I don't think it's realistic for a new investor to come in, especially in a very hot area like Raleigh, which is, I've never known Raleigh to be anything other than hot, to be quite honest with you.
Exactly.
To say, all right, well, we're going to buy a house at 70% of what it's worth, less our repairs, and we're going to make offers on the MLS and say, good luck. Because unless you're making 100 offers a day, and even then, I don't think you're going to find what you're looking for. So what I'm trying to do is say, okay, a lot of the conventional wisdom doesn't work. So I'm going to teach you how to evaluate the deals for yourself, how to work with the numbers. I'll teach you how to build the sheet. I'll teach you how to come up with your ARV based on comping, what it's like to find a comparable value. And I actually review an appraisal, and I go through the appraisal report. And so, why all those numbers are there, they make adjustments and all that stuff. And I kind of review that. I review how to analyze repairs, and I use examples from my own flips.
Which is the difference right there alone, because a lot of these people can't even share examples.
Yeah. So, and you have, your carpet paint punch list houses. Those are the easiest to flip. However, they are so competitive because you have so many institutional buyers that will pay anything for those houses. Right. So 70%, unless it's in the middle of nowhere and it's off their radar. The problem there is a lot of times in the middle of nowhere, you don't have good comps. So you don't know what your ARV is. So somewhere along the line, you have to compensate for risk. You have to say, well, do I want a stronger ARV, or do I want a better loan to value or purchase to value ratio? For example, it's $200,000, I did one, and I talk about this in the course. I did one that I retailed at $299, but I think I paid $225 for it. So, but 70% would have been like 210, 200. But I still pulled, it was 20 in, 20 out. It's fine. Inside of 90 days. Okay. That works.
I love it. And all this is so great. I actually use 75%. So and I use that for a quick back of the napkin to determine my maximum allowable offer. It's the ARV times 0.75 minus repairs equals Mayo. So with that, because you get a lot of information coming in from wholesalers and they're like, repairs are this, and they spit out those numbers, and then I'll just quickly do it and be like, they're smoking crack next, So it's one of those where it's that super, you can make a much faster decision. And so my profit may be a little smaller than what you are thinking as well. But the acquisition side of it. So you're talking about stuff on the MLS, and I try to detour. So I coach for a coaching program, and I try to detour students from finding everything from the MLS. Now, right now is a good time to buy properties from the MLS because people priced them too high. They're trying to still ride that wave, and then it sits, and then it becomes tarnished, and they're like, what's wrong with that house? It's been on the market 90 days. And so those are the ones you can go in and kind of lowball. But how do you find, so you're not doing on-market properties. How are you finding the off-market properties? Is it still through the SEO, or are you incorporating other marketing techniques?
So I do paid ads as well. Sometimes it's referred to as paid search or PPC, which is pay per click. Now you can use Google. You can also do Bing. I stick with Google. I like the Raleigh market. I like the Fayetteville market. You can target certain areas where you want to serve those ads. You don't have to serve those ads in areas where you don't want to. I've experimented with Facebook as well, paid Facebook ads. For whatever reason, for buying, it doesn't, both me and some other investors, it seems to be difficult to get Facebook ads to work for buying houses for some reason. Now, it works great for e-commerce.
Yes.
I'm going to utilizing it for, selling an actual tangible product that you buy, for example, a coaching course. But now with Facebook, it might have something to do with fair housing. You can't do demographics when you're dealing with housing. So it does get tricky. For whatever reason, I couldn't get it to work. I will do some direct mail a lot of times in areas where I bought a house. And if I really like the area, I'll send them some mail, some drip campaigns just to see if I can get another house in the area.
Awesome. So I love that because there's people who just lean on one. And I feel like in this industry, it's very cyclical. And you were talking about the Facebook ads. I did do Facebook ads when they were, hot, and we did get one deal from it. There's a bug flying around here. We did get one deal and it paid for itself, but it was one of those like, don't boost posts and things change all the time. So you really have to have an expert that is explaining all these nuances with doing it, or with doing the pay-per-click, which by the way, I always thought was paper-clip. Paper clip, CLIP. Yeah, I was like, what are they talking about? Paper clips. Why are we doing office supplies here? But pay-per-click. And I've experimented that as well, but I do love some mailers. I have been very lucky with my mailers recently, where I sent out 300 last week and I got 3 calls. That's a pretty good return from it. And people who are serious about wanting to sell their property, and those are inbound leads. I'm not chasing that shit down. I love them coming to me. So I agree 1,000%. I love that you are the face to this program because, again, you're so good at it, and you have those people who can't balance that fine line between being the educator but then also having the experience to lean back on as well. And you just exemplify that in what you do. And how do the listeners find you to learn more about your program?
They can go to houseflowdepot.com.
Wait, what? Houseflow Depot?
Houseflow Depot. So yes. So I like to create something that creates a flow of houses, little houses that drop down the beginning of the funnel that we can buy and make money on.
I love that. I love the name. So houseflowdepot.com. And how can they reach out to you if maybe they have some questions for you about your program?
Yes, they can go to YouTube at Mike Otranto, OTRA as an apple, NTO. Comment on any of the videos. and I will answer those questions pretty quickly. You can also find me on Instagram at Mike Otranto. And you can direct message me or comment on any of the posts that you see there, and I can respond.
Well, I love your twist on everything, and I wish you the very best of success in your coaching program. You heard me at the beginning of the podcast give a badassery bestowment. Do you have a little piece of advice that you can share with the listeners?
Simplicity being the ultimate sophistication. I like to keep things simple. I do have a tendency to overcomplicate things, so I have to bring myself back and say, okay, we're overcomplicating it. Reel it in. Not too much. So, because when I talked about building my spreadsheet, I'm like, oh, maybe I can put this formula in there. And it's like, okay, time out. No, we don't need to do that. We just need to start with the basics, make sure the numbers make sense, make sure there's no errors in the sheet, and that's it. This sheet is good enough. It does its job.
Well, I think that's excellent advice. I giggled because I know you so well. So I think that is simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I love that. All right. So the second half of the podcast is what makes Mike a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
I really like Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Good one.
And the reason why I like it is because he is actually refuting a lot of sales and negotiation theory. And he goes against a lot of, he went against some academics that are at Harvard and that teach the FBI. Difference is that he's actually in the front line when people are getting kidnapped and he's having to negotiate to bring them back. And I like the fact that he's refuting a lot of traditional theory, like I'm refuting a lot of traditional theory in real estate.
Perfect book for you. Thank you for sharing that one. The first A in badass is for advice. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Best piece of advice I ever received. Someone told me that they asked a millionaire, how did they get to where they are? And he said he took out a piece of paper and he wrote 1, I try and I fail. 2, I try and I fail. Then all the way up to 9, I try and I fail. And then on 10, I try and I succeed. So it's almost like you have to expect that the first 9 things you try aren't going to work.
Excellent. I love that. And I also do a little twist on that with students where they're like, I wrote an offer and I didn't get accepted. Okay, move on to the next. I want you to go out there and get 10 no's before, or even 25 no's. And so that's just a great way to kind of flip that. So very, very good advice there. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives Mike to be successful?
So I'm so repulsed by corporate America. I can't stand it. Can't take it. Can't do it. Can't work for someone.
Oh my gosh. When I was reading your bio and you went back to work in 20...
That was painful. That was very painful for me.
Like a bead of sweat came down off my brow. I would freak out if I had to go back to work. And, but to back that up, you went back to work and you gained very important tools that helped you build this program. So it wasn't a horrible experience, but yeah, just having that looming over your head. I was like, I hope I never have to go to work.
I worked for a digital marketing company. So I learned a lot about digital marketing. And plus I had to sell digital marketing to auto dealers who are very traditional. So it's kind of like I had to convince when other people push back on me, they don't like digital. I've already opened up the hood and figured out what all the parts do and then had to sell against the guys that say, no, it sucks. So that's what made me stick with it because I had to kind of convince myself first and I am convinced.
Well, very, very good. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you're currently working on?
I am working on writing a book.
Really?
Yes. I want something tangible to leave behind. I read a lot. I have about 500-600 in the house. So I love used bookstores, but yeah, to become an author, it's one of my goals. And I have 30,000 words. It's all over the place. And I'm trying to figure out what goes where, and editing is kind of killing me, but
yes, I edit. Do you ever use ChatGPT for anything?
I just downloaded it on my phone. I like it because you can ask it questions, especially if you hear something on TV, you don't know what it means, especially if it's scientific, it'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, ChatGPT wrote my intro there, the 10 things to do to help you scale your investment business. I thought they were really good. But I look at it as a virtual assistant that I don't have to pay to write copy for me. So that's something for you with all those words, you would need to probably get the one next up. So ChatGPT, and then there's, I think, ChatGPT 4. Forgive me, listeners, if I'm getting this wrong. But then you can upload a lot more and it will organize it for you. And it is mind-blowing. I just mess around with it. It's a big rabbit hole for me. But anyway, check that out. I think that would really get you to focus and get it a lot quicker. And it's still your words. They're just rearranging it for you. So it's not like somebody's writing it for you, like my Badassery Bistoma was written for me today. All right. The first S in Badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
I like the agile system, and I learned that in corporate selling. It's because a lot of us are trained to think in this linear fashion where everything has a plan, you have your budget, you have your start time, your end time, and it assumes that everything is going to go to plan, but it never does. So the agile framework, it's used for software, but it anticipates failure. It anticipates that first 9 things aren't going to work. But you still go from start to finish in a sprint, and then you start again, and then you carry the lessons from the last sprint over. And I think it's just a better mindset, and it's a different way to do things, better way to do things.
And another system you have that I saw earlier, right before this call started, was your assistant. I'm so jealous. I wanted an assistant so bad.
I did hire a full-time assistant. That was a big step for me this year. That's scary. I'm like,
it is scary.
Pay somebody? Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm like, how am I going to pay them?
Their source of income? That's weird. That's so.
Cracked me up. All right. To wrap this up here, the final S is for success. What does success mean to Mike Otranto?
It means freedom for me. Not having to go to a 9 to 5. I can stop working after this call, or I can make some offers on some properties. There's actually a few I'm interested in that I'm going to go ahead and write some offers. And it's just a simple email. It's not going to be anything, but I could go to the beach if I want to. I could not go to work on Monday. It's really up to me.
I love it. And I hope that your program takes off. I know it will. You're just such a smart guy. You're a nice guy. You came recently to my 50th birthday party. We had a great time. And Mike, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.